let's talk about the Fenix E06R and SW05R. So these two little lights I've been carrying now for, oh, what, 2 weeks, week and a half, somewhere around there. And I was skeptical, primarily for it being a side switch only. You know, I am a big tail switch fan. Most all of my lights that I've ever really EDC'd for any length of time have been tail switch because I like the ease of orientation. Sorry guys, sun's right in my face. The ease of orientation, no matter how I grab that light, it's quick and easy to find the tail switch. And especially ones with the double tail switch, it's real easy to find that mode switch. So I've always gravitated towards a tail switch light, but I've never had a side switch only light that is flat or rectangular. The ones I've always played with have been round, so there's not really ever been a good way to index the switch so you know where it is each time you pull it out of your pocket. With this E06R, that's not the case. It's very easy to index that switch. Pocket clip, opposite is the side switch, for operation. So as soon as I pull this out of my pocket, get this back in here, but as soon as I reach in, my thumb is right on that switch. I can pinch, spin it around, and I've got my light. Spin it back around, right in my pocket. So it's very intuitive, and it doesn't bother me as much to not have that tail switch functionality because it's so easy to index it. It has been easy to use that switch with gloves on, mud, water, snow. I've carried it through a little bit of everything so far, and I've not had any complaints with it like I've had with a traditional round-bodied flashlight with a side switch. So it's broke my norm, and I don't mind it. I still am not a big fan of side switch, though, for the fact of being able to just hand it off to somebody. You know, I can hand them a tail switch light, and generally you're gonna figure it out without any type of instructions. But that's not a crucial deal. I've not had any issues with this light coming on in my pocket. I take that back. The laser and UV light, I have had a couple of instances of them coming on when I switched to my left pocket, because in my left pocket I also carry my pen and my Sharpie. So I typically have it staggered. Let me see, my Sharpie's right here. It's typically staggered pen, Sharpie, and then light. There's been a few times that I guess the Sharpie has pressed on the side switches enough right there to turn those on. But when I was carrying it over here in my right pocket, where I don't carry anything and the switches are facing up into my pocket, I've never had an issue with them coming on. So, and you also, of course, have the option to lock them out by pressing and holding your two side switches there at the same time. Let's see. There we go. So now it's locked out, and then you just press and hold again to unlock. But I've not had the need for it. I've carried it unlocked, and I've not found it to be dead or anything like that. So no complaints there. The clip, you can, as I showed in an earlier video, you can clip to your hat bill. It's noticeable weight. I've done it a few times. It's worked. It's worked in a pinch, just testing it out. Still not a big fan of that method. Still prefer a headlamp, but this light will do it. I have noticed some hat bills, they can't be very thick hat bills because the clip just doesn't like that. It's a very stiff clip. But overall, guys, I can't say enough good things about this little light. The laser, I guess, is handy, but I've personally I've never carried a laser pointer. I don't think I've ever really had much of a genuine need for a laser pointer at all. My kids have had great fun using it to play with the cats, but besides that, I've not found much need for the laser pointer. And honestly, the laser pointer is a little weak. At night, you can see it out to 100 yards if you look really hard. Inside of 50 yards, it's pretty reasonable. Much past 100 yards, you're not going to see it. My son and I were hitting the barn at about 200 yards the other night with it, but it was a very big red dot, and it was extremely, extremely, extremely faint. It was not practical at all. About 100 yards is the most practical you'll get with the laser. Run times have been really good on it. 700 milliamp hour battery. compared to the PD25R, your run times are pretty similar to it. So if you're familiar with the PD25R with a 16340 in it, your run times are pretty similar to that, just in a smaller package. The magnetic base has been extremely handy. I have used it a lot on different projects at work. I've had to do some HVAC work here recently, so sticking it inside the air duct while I'm working has been very nice to have hands-free or a secondary light in conjunction with my headlamp. I've been working back through a small little access port, so I've not been able to really position my head to where my headlamp is effective and be able to see and get my hands through it. So this has been nice to be able to stick inside the unit and give me light while I'm working through that access port. That's been a big benefit. The TK05R that had been EDC, and of course does not have a magnetic base, so it's been irrelevant for that. But overall, guys, after 2 weeks of carrying this light, I mean, it's $56. Yeah, it's a little pricey for no bigger than it is, but it carries very well, very flat, and honestly, I still really prefer the Candela of this TK05R. This is good for, you know, probably 50 yards on its max output, 50, 60 yards. You might stretch it to 75 under good conditions, but inside of 50 is the most usable. But it's a very wide, very floody beam, which I don't mind a whole lot, but I do keep this still handy for that increased candela that I need. It just, you can't beat it. And you can see there is quite a bit of difference there, size-wise, between the two. But in the pocket, this E06 just carries so much better. It's unnoticeable, and you don't give up any performance. The UV light, I've used it some to check money. It shows up the money well. That's really about the only use for it I've had so far, is just checking money and seeing that. I'll start checking my bigger bills at shows and stuff now. But overall, I can't say enough good things about it. I would definitely recommend picking one up, and I'll put in some Beamshots at the end of it. Now, I will say, something I noticed too on your pocket clip, you've got double loops there like cleats. So, you know, if you wanted to fish something through there to use to tie it off, you could. To put a lanyard on it, you could definitely do that. But overall, guys, the E06R has just been a good little light. The RGB on it, I've used quite a bit on that white RGB mode as a moonlight mode. It actually is stated as a half lumen output is what the manual shows for it. And I tell you what, at night when I'm just kind of wanting to chill, I can turn that on. It's just enough to kind of chill, kick back, relax. I still have enough to do things by, you know, if I'm wanting to watch a little YouTube or something at night and just want a little bit of ambient lighting, it works really well for that. Or if I want to get the kids ready in the mornings without bright lights on and stuff, I can set this under nightstand or shelf, and you know, I can get my daughter ready for school in the morning without having to turn on all the big lights or be very blinding. So a lot of good uses for it. This is a very useful light. I've used it for, you know, so far in the past couple weeks, I've used it working on my car. It works great to stick up on the hood, to light up an engine bay or tight spots like I was talking about with the HVAC. I've used it for taking pictures the other night while I was working. I stuck this on the end of a metal farm gate to light up a knife while I was taking a picture of it, because I needed kind of a bigger scene light. Just a lot of good little uses for it that weighs nothing, and I definitely recommend picking one of these up. You're going to find a use for it. You're not going to regret it. These are available right now on my website, thegearshack.com. I think I've got one green left. I've got to get some more ordered, but yeah, definitely pick up an E06R. It's an awesome little light. Keep your knives charged, your light sharp. We'll see y'all on the next one. We're out here to do some beam shot comparisons of the E06R, the SW05R Red, and the PD25R. Now, I have adjusted my camera settings to do as best as I can to kind of control what I see versus what the camera displays. I've tried to strike as happy of a medium as I can, so they do real good on the lower modes. The higher modes, it's a little overexposed, so it looks a little brighter than it is, but it's not substantially amount, especially at distance. You'll see here, I'll talk about it when I turn the lights on. But just want to throw that out there. It may appear slightly brighter than it actually is, but it's just as usable as you're seeing. You've got just the same distance, the same beam profile, and all of that. So here we go. We're on the lowest mode. We're starting with the E06R. Now, I can see a little bit more than what the camera is showing here. It is not completely dark. I can see about a good 10 yards out right here. I can see the corner of the truck and the garage doors over here. Now, once we step up to the next mode, you can see there on the garage doors. That's pretty accurate to what I'm seeing. A little bit bigger hotspot, but that's pretty accurate. Now, the truck over here, I can see the truck pretty well, and I can see the fence on out here at the end. Unfortunately, the camera's just not picking it up. I'm sorry, guys. My phone just doesn't do that well with nighttime beam shots. But there's the truck that I kept referring to. The garage doors. Now, that is more accurate of what I'm seeing is what the camera is in fact showing. So you can see there pretty well everything. And then back to your low mode. And again, like I said, with the low mode, I can make out that there's a truck sitting there. You can see the license plate and the reflections. But I can see the truck. Over here, I can see the building. I can see the mower deck sitting next to the building. Once we get to this mode, I can see the tractor sitting there. I can see the plank fence at the end. Grant you, I cannot see details, but I can tell in fact that there is a tractor sitting there. There is a grain bin. And of course, once we get to here, you can start seeing all of those details real well. But the actual beam profile itself is spot on. What I'm seeing is spot on with what the camera is in fact showing. Now, let's go to the SW05R. Second, there we go. All right, again, low mode, pretty similar to the E06R. I can see about 10-15 yards out in front of me. Again, unfortunately, you all cannot. Next mode up, I can see plenty well. This is a good amount of light up close for what I'm doing. And then there's your maximum mode. And again, with it, I can see the tractor, I can see the grain bin. But unfortunately, the camera's just not picking it up very well. And then here is the PD25R. Sorry guys, I hope those are at least somewhat useful. I've not figured out real well how to do beam shots. That's why most of my videos don't have beam shots in them. I just don't have a good way to capture them. But there you go, guys. Alright, I'm going to try to do something a little bit more up close. So here's low mode on the E06. See, unfortunately that's pretty washed out. And definitely appears brighter than what I'm seeing, but it shows the low modes a little bit better, a little bit more accurately. All right, I'll do the SW05R as well. Starting out in the high, there's your low mode. I can see the pallet there pretty well. There we go. That's pretty accurate as to what I'm seeing there. And then so is that. And again, this is the SW05R.